Welcome to Adeptus On Air, the show where we examine how individuals and companies make decisions that drive their business and personal success. Each week, we connect with notable professionals who pull back the curtain on the industries that Adeptus has been on the cutting edge of for the last 30 years, including music, sports, and entertainment, as well as new emerging markets. Welcome to the latest edition of Adeptus On Air. I am one of your co-hosts, James Walker, and I have a great guest, a very special guest today in Jennifer Coyne. And I mean that in all reverence, because if you knew the clientele that she's worked with, you would be absolutely amazed and astounded. So Jennifer, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. First one.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And so let's just start with basic explanation of business management in your field. I'm sure there's some people in the audience who will know what business management is, and maybe some that don't. So try to give us a basic background of what business management is for that blend of audience who may or may not know what it is.
Well, business management is basically like having your own personal CFO. Your business manager tends to deal with anything that touches your money, whether that's estate planning, or you're on tour, or you're setting up a loan out company for your athletic endorsements, whatever it is. If it involves the money moving around, your business manager helps you handle it.
That's an awesome explanation. And how you came to Adeptus was an interesting story. So just kind of give us where you started, everything in between, and how you came to Adeptus, because we were very excited about the addition, of you to the firm, obviously in the summer. And, we work pretty closely for the last several months. I'm looking forward to many more successes, but just kind of give us your winding journey, because no one person's journey is the same.
Well, so I started my journey in business management a little more than 20 years ago. I worked for IMG, the largest sports agency in the country, doing client accounting and client financial services. So my first job out of college, I paid Derek Jeter and Tiger Woods bills. 18 years ago, I came to LA and I worked for a small business management firm for about 4 years. And then I worked as tax manager at just a standard tax and accounting firm, a small firm, for another 3 years. I worked for the largest business management firm in the country after that for about 10 years. And here I am today.
That's an awesome, amazing journey, and more years to come, obviously, with that. And I think what the audience, a lot of people don't understand, and even some people in the business don't understand, is the tax component and how the two tie together. How important are the business management side and the tax component? How much do they stick together, and on an annual basis, even a quarterly basis for some people?
Well, they kind of go hand in hand. So one of the things that I do as sort of the consulting piece of being a business manager is we look at the tax effects of all of our clients' deals, and how do we plan for them? What does it mean? How can we save them money tax-wise? How can we save them tax that they pay? Do we push the deal off into the new year, which is one of the things we're looking at right around now, because we're at Christmas time here. Do we push it off into the new year? Do we take the money this year? How does it work? And that's a big component of being a business manager. You do have to know a little bit of tax.
Now, since you mentioned about pushing the deal to the new year, can you delve into that a little bit? Because I'm actually going through a little bit of that experience myself with something that may come, a payment for some stuff with my children, because my children do modeling. They're part of a talent agency down here in South Florida, and I don't know if they're going to get paid on the 30th, December 30th, or should I call them and say, hey, just hold it till after January 1st on the tax side? Just delve into that a little bit and give us some advice.
So unless you're a large company, a large dollar organization, you are probably a cash basis taxpayer, which means if the cash comes into your account before the end of the year, you're going to pay tax on it. And while that is fine and well for for most people, what happens is the money that comes at the end of the year doesn't give you a whole lot of time to have business expenses against it. So if you, for example, get a big record deal that pays out December 30th, the chances of you being able to find business expenses to bring that taxable income number down between the 30th and the end of the year are relatively small. So, and it's more of a comprehensive, we look at what do you already have this year? If you have a big loss, take the income.
Yeah.
But if you're going to need to find a ton of expenses in a day, you're better off not getting paid until the new year.
Okay, no, that's something I'm going to think about with my children. But anyway, that's a conversation for off the air. Jen, we spent some time together in Vegas, and I saw with my own eyes just how much a client of yours just absolutely loves you. And how do you build that kind of relationship personally within the realm of business? I think that's something that everybody kind of goes through and maybe struggles with different relationships, to where just to have your clients have that much reverence for you is just something that you don't see every day.
Well, I think part of it is you treat them the way you would like to be treated if you were a client. And I genuinely care about my clients. They're like my family or my children. I care about them. And it has to come from a genuine place, I think, because they can tell if it's not. But that's really the thing. Like I care about them, and I care about what's good for them and their well-being. I try to create opportunities for them if I can. For example, just today, one of my musical artists, I presented her with a deal for a show that just happened to somebody I was talking to said, we'd love to book her. I said, send me the offer. And they sent it. And now she's going to play at this HBCU in the new year.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And yeah, anytime you can bring value to a client, I mean, that goes a long way, especially outside of the realm of what your, it's supposed to be your day-to-day duties. That's something that that I'm learning from you and through you. But also, something that we kind of both go through. I call athletes all the time, need signatures and forms and things like that during the season. When they're busy, they might have a big game, the playoffs are coming, things like that. You may have athletes or entertainers who are, have a live show in a few hours and things like that. How do you balance not being too bothersome with giving them space, but also making sure the work gets done? Because some clients of mine, I know I have to reach out 2 weeks in advance, because I might, it might take 10 days to get a signature from them on a form. So I can't, I can't push, I can't let that deadline come too close. So how do you balance that part of it?
So part of it is I'm around. I truly believe if you're not around, you're not relevant.
Mhm.
And these are clients that a lot of people are in their ear about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But so I try to be around. So I'm showing up at your game once in a while. I'm coming to Atlanta for 5 days when you're having a big decision you have to make. When you play in town at SoFi Stadium, I'm going to be there. So that's part of it, is being around a little bit. And the other part is you have to work with the other members on their team. Do they have a personal assistant? Is their mom handling all their paperwork? You have to find who that person is that has the access, that can help you and is motivated to do so. And then, like you said, part of it is, do we have enough lead time? Because it's awful hard to do signatures on game day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, we've all gone through that for sure. What's the ideal client for Jennifer Coyne? I don't mean that in terms of fame or money or anything like that. Just in terms of, what's the kind of client that makes your job easy? And then on the flip side, what's the difficult? What are some of your pain points? In your line of work in business management?
So the ideal client, and I don't have kind of just one, is really somebody that's interested in learning about their business, the business aspect of their life. Because you can be a great quarterback, you can be a great singer, but if you don't care about the business aspect, you spend too much money or someone takes advantage of you, you get in the wrong deals. People that are around you that are supposed to protect you put you in deals that you shouldn't be in. So the ideal client is really one that's wants to be engaged a little bit in their business. They don't have to be the business expert. They don't have to have a Harvard MBA. And that's really kind of my lane, but they have to be engaged. And sort of on the flip side, sort of the client I don't want to work with is or that isn't a good business management client if you won't listen to me.
Mm.
And sometimes that happens. Is
How do you handle that, if I may ask? How do you handle the tougher clients that, don't take your advice and then pay for it later, basically?
Well, part of it is, some of it is, you know, do I think they're a good client overall? Are they a good person? That kind of thing. Because I'm kind of at the space in my career where I don't want to work with just anybody. If you're unpleasant or nasty to me, or even worse than that to my team, that's kind of not the right thing. But if you're genuinely a good person and you're just kind of not listening, it's, can we turn it around? That kind of thing. And then sometimes you have no choice but to walk away. I walked away from one in November that just was not a good fit. And that person was using up a ton of time for my team and myself, and they weren't listening. And when you are the business manager, you have some exposure when things go wrong, and the risk just became too much.
Yeah.
Um, And the other thing is, I don't want to be around any type of violence or danger. And, not everybody in music or sports, is a priest or a doctor or a lawyer. They're just not. Some of them are very colorful characters. It's the business I've chosen to be in. But that being said, I don't want to get shot coming out of a business meeting either.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's really good advice for younger people getting into the business, because I would assume they would take in any kind of business that they can get, even if, some of the perils that you had mentioned. And you learned over the years that, hey, maybe this type of clientele is not for me. With things like, danger and violence and those things. The if you just look around any form of financial, markets, whether it's cryptocurrency, even the stock market, just invest certain investments, things like that. Everything is in peril right now. Everything's kind of up and down, or just down, completely. How do you change your advice for clients based on, this current setting, in the financial markets versus, say, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, even when everything was humming and going well?
Well, the kind of thing is you don't. So with athletes and entertainers, what they do is risky enough.
Hmm.
They don't need to take on any additional risk. You can be on the top of the world and have a $40 million guaranteed contract, and you could hurt yourself in a football game and you're done.
Mm.
So, what you do is risky enough. So, I try to limit exposure to things like cryptocurrency. Not that there shouldn't be some in everyone's portfolio. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is be smart about it. You cannot be the VC venture cap angel investor for every investment that comes across your desk. Pick one or two that you really like, a product that you like, and then keep the rest in a relatively safe mix of fixed income and some equities. Hire a good financial advisor.
Yeah.
I work with several across multiple investment banks: Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, UBS. Hire someone that you really like that's actually good at it.
Mm. That's really good advice. And I know, how important, especially in the athlete space, that trust is, in the space. And sometimes, that trust goes bad, and sometimes the trust goes well in our business, as we see. But on your end, especially having, that day-to-day, relationship where, there might be transactions, or, a musician might have a concert that night and say, hey, I need this amount, while I'm in this city in XYZ. How important is trust, in these business relationships that you deal with day to day?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, as a business manager, I'm dispersing their funds for their bills. They have to trust me that I am A, going to look at them. I look at every single one, and B, that I'm not going to, let someone take advantage of them. And where the hard part is I can't save them from themselves. So if you're bringing in $1 million a year and you're spending two, there isn't a whole lot I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You alluded to this a little bit earlier, but how often does your role go beyond, what's on paper, or beyond the line of duty? How often are you doing unconventional things, for your clients?
Oh, every day. Every day, because these, my clients are people, so they do the same stuff that you and I do. They react emotionally in bad situations. Sometimes they make bad decisions. Sometimes their family situation isn't the greatest,
Mm.
and causes them to make a bad financial decision. And so the business managers really, you're kind of part therapist, part older sister, part life coach,
You
occasionally part marriage counselor.
you you need to charge for all those things. Those are expensive services. Psychologists, life coach. There's people that make a lot of money in that industry. You need to, make sure you add that to your fee sometimes.
And so like some of the things, so as an example of that, because I want to give a good example, is I have a client that was my client a few years ago, and he's retired now, but he was a major league baseball player, and he wanted to know if it would be cheaper for him to live in another state besides California.
Mhm.
And what it really came down to, I told them, is the answer is yes.
Yep.
But here's the thing, you love California. You love where your kids go to school. You love that your son, plays soccer in Orange County. You don't pick where you live based on if it's less taxes. You pick where you live based on the life you want to live and where you're comfortable. And it cost him probably $300,000 a year in extra tax that he wouldn't have had if he had lived in Nevada or Texas and moved the family there. But his vital center of interest was here. He loved that his kids went to school here. And he's like, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
I grew up in California. I love California. I love that I drive my kid to soccer. I'm playing baseball in California. And that was kind of the thing. But he needed someone to kind of say, hey, it's not sort of just the dollars and cents. It's what do you want for your life too?
Yeah, and what's impressive about that is that only having intimate knowledge of your client and his lifestyle and his likes and his family and things like that, that you could answer that question that way. If you didn't have that kind of relationship and intimate knowledge of that client, and it would only been a financial conversation, it would be easy to say yes if you could save six figures a year at XYZ. But since you knew his lifestyle and what his kids do and everything, that's really next level, things that having that relationship with that client really, really makes a difference. So what is Jennifer Coyne like doing, in her free time? I know you're busy, you probably haven't had free time much, as we approach the year end. Everybody's doing year end reviews, etc. But what do you like to do in your free time?
So I'm a sports fan at heart. Um,
Mhm.
so when I started my career at IMG, I was really kind of in my wheelhouse. I fell in love with sort of the business of sports. So I watch sports, I go to sports events, I like going to concerts. A few years ago, I was at the Formula One race in Abu Dhabi with one of my clients.
Wow.
And I kind of love it. So, I love being in the room. I can't wait till I get a chance to be in the room negotiating some of these billion-dollar deals. Um, and I kind of love what I do. So even though, like you said, it's a busy time of year and I'm a little stressed out because I've just joined the firm and all my clients have come and it's year end. There's a part of me that loves it every single day, or I wouldn't do this.
Exactly. I could tell your enthusiasm, not just on this podcast, but just in our conversations in general, that you really love what you do and you really love the relationship building aspect of it, in addition to the technical work. And that's what really, in my opinion, makes you next, makes you next level. One of the many things that makes you next level in what you do. Any particular travel spots, whether people listen to this podcast, are interested in business or et cetera, everybody likes to travel. Everybody likes to hear nice places, but you've been all over, you've been international, domestic, all over the world. Any particular travel spots that you recommend?
Oh, so I recommend them all. I think I'm kind of the Tony Bourdain school, Anthony Bourdain.
Hmm.
Travel as often as you can, as far away as you can, eat the local food, take it all in kind of person.
Hmm.
Um, so Spain is my magical place, though. I really love it there. Um,
Nice. What
and
part?
I've been to, like, three different areas of Spain. I was in Valencia and Murcia, and I was in Sevilla and Barcelona. So I really like it there. I liked South America. I liked Buenos Aires. I liked Chile. I thought Brazil was cool. Like, I don't know that I would hang out in Sao Paulo on the regular, but I was fascinated to go there and see it and meet the people. And um, I liked Abu Dhabi. The light is amazing. They have the best light there. You look so good all the time because the light is so good. Like someone lit you up for a movie.
Wow.
um and it's far different than here. It's a different life there. And I come from the Midwest, so a lot of my travel is back home to see the family on the shores of Lake Erie. My niece and nephew live there, and my dad's there, and my sister. So
That's phenomenal. You're more well traveled than I am, especially internationally. I've been to Germany, been to London a couple times, and I've been to Barcelona and Paris. And I would say Paris is up there, right at the top. I like Barcelona. I really like the food. It was a little some place in Europe. It was a little less modern, I would say, than some of the European cities like like Paris and London. But I would say probably London and Paris are probably my two favorite internationally. Um,
I am planning a trip to Paris for my birthday because I have never been.
wow, wow, you'll love it there. You'll love it there. You got to go to the Louvre, or if I said that right, the museum with Mona Lisa and everything, and do all the touristy stuff. I really had a good time there. Where do you see business management in 10 years, if I may ask? Like where are the trends going? What's something that maybe 10 years ago was out of the picture but seems to be developing now, and 10 years later? Just curious of where you see things going.
So I see, so sort of the future of business management.
Yes, what do you think the industry looks like, for better, for worse, or any changes or any, things that can be tweaked in the next 10 years? What does the future look like in your opinion?
Well, I think that accounting in general and business management as sort of a subset of accounting and tax is going to become very artificial intelligence oriented,
Mm-mm.
because it needs to be. We simply don't, we're not churning out enough accountants. Um, I think I read a statistic like in the next 5 years, 70% of all CPAs are going to be eligible to be on Medicare.
Wow. Wow.
And what's happening is, and you can see it now, it's kind of why we're all overworked, is there is more work than accountants.
Mhm.
And I think what's going to end up happening out of necessity is, and we're seeing it already in some of the accounting software, is it will learn how to do your accounting. It and I think that sort of the piece that's going to be valuable then is the consulting piece.
Yes. Yes. I can definitely see that. And man, that's interesting because there's a personable interpersonal aspect of accounting that I don't know if that can be replaced with AI. I mean, you can kind of put the right pegs and the right holes and things like that, but that's interesting. I guess if you only need one person to handle the interpersonal part and the conversations and relationships, but Wow, that's interesting. I can definitely see that because a lot of the industry, it doesn't matter, what firm or what have you, come tax season, it does seem like there's more work than that can be done. And I guess the next question I want to ask you is, what would you tell yourself, the Jennifer Coyne of 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, when you first got into the industry? If you can, now that you have the hindsight of the 20 plus years experience, what would you tell yourself, the younger Jennifer Coyne? You are young, obviously, the younger Jennifer Coyne coming into the business that would have helped.
I would tell myself two things. One, don't panic because you're going to end up okay.
Mhm.
And the other thing I would tell myself, because when 20 years ago, we were in a different time as far as women in the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
I would have also told myself, don't take so much crap, because I took a lot of it. I mean, for example, I wanted to be a sports agent at one time, and I had the head of HR tell me, no, there are no women sports agents.
Mm.
And and I kind of went, yeah, you're kind of right. And I'm pretty good at this and I kind of like it. So I'll be a business manager. Um, and now if someone told me that, there's no way I would put up with that. And so that's kind of what I would say to me is believe in yourself a little bit more, don't take so much crap, and you're gonna be okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, that's great advice. And last question here for me is, you mentioned the female aspect of things. What advice would you have for women in business in general, just beyond business management or agents or things like that? What advice would you have for women in business, and how to navigate that part of it as well?
Well, first thing, this is a wonderful time to be a woman in sports or a woman in music. Both those industries are doing a ton of outreach for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and not just for women, but for minorities as well. It's a good time. If you're interested in this and you have an aptitude for it, this is an excellent time to be in it. And what I would also say is do your very best to learn as much as possible and work very hard.
That's great advice, tremendous advice. And Jennifer, how can people reach you? How can people, find you? Your social channels? If you can share it with the audience.
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm Coyne Jennifer on Instagram, and I'm Jennifer Coyne on LinkedIn, and I'm on the Adeptus website as Director of Business Management for Sports and Entertainment.
Awesome, Jennifer. Thank you so much, Jennifer Coyne, and thank you to the audience for listening to Adeptus on Air. We will drop a new episode every Thursday, so make sure you check it out.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus on Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have a question related to this episode or have a request for what you would like to hear, please email us at marketing@adeptuscpas.com. You can also find us at adeptuscpas.com online or follow us at Adeptus on social media. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.